well, hi everybody. Welcome back to Book Club. I am so excited about today's guest. She's a screenwriter, a storyteller, and the author of a murder mystery thriller now called Bless Your Heart. So please welcome Leigh Dunlap. Hi. How are
Hello.
you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, thank you for joining us. Where are you joining from?
I'm from London, England,
Oh my gosh,
where
that's
it's currently
oh
6 o'clock in the night. So,
my gosh.
yeah, so it's awesome. It's fun to be here.
How long have you split your time between it's there and Los Angeles? Or no, and South Carolina, you
In
said.
South Carolina, though I'm from Los Angeles. It's kind of a long story, but for a long time, split between here and Georgia, and then I got a divorce, and we had to sell the house here, which just killed me. So for 10 years, didn't have it, and then like last year, the same day I sold my book. I got an email from the owner saying, 10 years ago, you said if we were ever selling the flat and, to call you. And I couldn't afford it, but my cousin was so nice and she bought it. So I get to stay here now for about half the year.
Oh, that's amazing. That's so nice. And I love
Yeah.
that they remembered after 10 years to be like,
Oh
oh,
my
hey,
God.
like, wait.
I mean, it was so, I thought these people will never remember that. And it just came out of the blue. And I remember I started crying because mostly because of like I can't buy it back. But it all worked out. So it's a special, like, it's just so cool to be back.
That's such a cool, like, creative space. There's so many cool creatives who, like, work, I feel like, in England. Every
Hmm.
podcast I listen to, I feel like someone's like, oh, yeah, I spend my time in South Kensington. And I'm like, oh,
That's
yeah,
where I
like maybe
am.
I need to do that.
Can't be bad, I'll tell you that.
No, no, that's amazing. But yeah, I want to kind of kick us off. Can you tell us a little bit about your book, Bless Your Heart, and what readers can expect maybe picking it up for the first time?
It's sort of Big Little Lies meets Desperate Housewives. It takes place in Atlanta, and kind of golden boy of Atlanta has been murdered, and a detective from the other side of town has to find out which one of these, and they're called Buckhead Betties, which are like the Karens of Atlanta, might be a murderer. And it's kind of it's part social satire. It's kind of funny sometimes. Uh, I hope it's a little bit more than just a standard murder mystery, but I think you'd have fun. Like it's a fun read. It's definitely a fun read, and it's got, I think, a really fun ending. I don't know if it's a fun ending, but a good ending.
Yeah, I feel like I pride myself. I feel like every person who really enjoys murder mysteries prides themselves on being like, I can always guess the end. And I literally told my boyfriend, I was on like chapter 23. I was like, I think I know. I was like, I think I got it. I was like, because this thing, and I was like, that's a really smart ending. And I was like, I'm really smart. I think I got this. And then I got to the part where it was revealed, and literally I was picking my jaw up off the floor. I was like, well,
Yeah.
nope. I was humbled immediately. I mean, yeah. I was so excited to get more into that. But I want to go back a bit because the book is set, like you said, in Buckhead, Georgia, and you reference a lot of real things and places that really
Mm.
ground the story in the Southern setting. So you said you spent some time in Buckhead. How long were you there?
About 10 years, so quite a while. Yep, lived there. My son played baseball there. Little League plays a part in the book. Yeah, went to school there. So there's a lot that's real, a lot that's not. But I couldn't have written it if I hadn't lived there. I think you can kind of tell when you read something. There've been other books about Atlanta. I'm like, I don't even know if these people have ever been to Atlanta before. So I hope I nailed Atlanta. Everyone in Atlanta tells me I nailed Atlanta. So it definitely helped to be there. It actually made all the difference. Couldn't have done it without it.
Even as soon as you mentioned the pollen, the detective mentions you wrote that the pollen is kind of what makes people go crazy during a certain time of year. And as soon as you
Sounds
started talking
familiar?
about the pollen, yeah, I was like, yes. I was like, she's definitely been to Atlanta before. But so are the Buckhead Betties real?
They are real. Have you ever heard that expression and when you've been in
No.
Atlanta? Yeah, they are real. I mean, before there were Karens, they were always called Buckhead Betties, and most people in Atlanta, well, they'll know. They're kind of the entitled, bitchy women in Atlanta, um, rich women, and yeah, unfortunately, they exist. I'm not one. My friends aren't. They swear, but but I definitely met quite a few.
Oh my gosh. I'd never heard that before. Like so what I guess was the story simmering in your mind for a while, or what drew you to tell the story? What was the spark that put it on the page?
Yeah, the spark is actually how the book opens, which is semi-true story. I was at a little league game. My son was playing. They were like 10 years old, and a mother from another team screamed out in front of everybody at one of our boys and called him an a-hole. And very, very loudly. And I thought, oh, who does that? That's crazy. He hadn't even done anything. I think he tagged the guy out, her son out, it must have been. And I thought, wow, that could be somebody should write about these people. Then I'm like, hey, wait, I'm a writer. I can write about these people. And at first I thought it would just be sort of a fun thing, making fun of Buckhead Betties. And there was no plot. So then I thought, well, let's kill somebody. And then it just kind of went from there.
You do a really good job balancing and blending the real Southern culture, like with the Falcons and these things that are really important to people who live in Atlanta, but also with these really heightened, absurd moments, like you were mentioning the opening of the book. So, how did you go about kind of striking that balance between the realism and the satire?
I don't know. Just kind of happened. Just kind of happened. I mean, in general, I like to write things that are a little funnier, I guess. And I think just different situations just kind of brought it out. So, and it's kind of easy to make fun of people being horrible. So yeah, bad answer, but that's the answer.
No, no, not at all. I kind of wanted to segue off of that with you have a career as a screenwriter. You've written some incredible hits like A Cinderella Story and 16 Love, among others. And this novel feels quite different from the movies that you've written, but it still
Yeah,
has your signature wit and charm, but it definitely is, it's a bit darker and it leans
definitely.
into that, yeah. It leans into the social satire about the wealth and privilege. And what inspired you to make that shift in tone and genre? And was this a kind of story that you'd always wanted to explore?
I feel like I've always written different stories, but because of a Cinderella story, especially, that's all people want from me. So it's very hard to get any other kind of job, screenwriting or has been so far. So, a book is a fresh start and I could take a different story and try from there. But I said that if I'd taken this if I'd written this as a TV series from the start, I would have never sold it. Nobody would have ever met with me on it. Nobody would have ever cared. So I've kind of had to, I guess, reinvent myself a little bit so that I have that opportunity.
That's so interesting about the industry. I totally understand what you mean when people almost put you in a box of the kind of stories that they feel like you can tell. Was it
Yeah,
a challenge to shift into this? I guess I would call it a slower burn format where there's a lot more of like the inner lives of people that you have to write rather than I think on a script. Was it hard to do that?
a little bit. I mean, you read a script, and I don't know how your character was originally written in the first script that you got, but what you probably had like two lines of description, kind of
Yeah.
thing. And that's all you get. You have to do sort of the most possible in the least amount of words. And so when I started writing a book, like literally sometimes I'd get tired and like I just wanted like they just walk in the room and people get it, they understand. Why do I have to describe it? Let's just get to the dialogue and move along. And obviously you can't do that, but once I kind of got the rhythm of it, it was fun. I mean, they're two completely different beasts, though. It's just I feel like screenwriting is my native language, and writing a novel is like a second language. It's translating when I sit down to write, but it got a little easier as time went on.
That makes sense. Were there any tools that you were able to pull from your experience screenwriting and use them in writing this novel, or were there a lot of things you just
Yeah.
had to unlearn and start fresh?
No, I know a lot of books are very literary. Mine's not as much. I mean, I think it kind of reads like a TV show or a movie, and that's on purpose. That's on purpose because I literally, I mean, I can't say who, but we're negotiating right now on a TV show. So
It's
since we're still
exciting.
negotiating, I can't say, but that was the end game all along was I'm not going to be able to sell this as a script, so maybe I can sell it as a book. And that's what's happened, sell the book to make it into a TV thing. So my mind organizes things visually and in terms of, act breaks and uh, I still I can't beat that out of my beat that out of my head. I could sit down and start writing a story, and it will be 110 to 120 pages long, no matter what I do. I write for a feature length. If anything, the struggle was like, oh, this is going to be a TV show. That's a little bit different, as opposed to, oh, this is a book. That's different.
Well, congratulations on that. That's so exciting.
It is
I
exciting.
am really looking forward to hearing some future news. I think that'd be so awesome. It is reading it, I feel like it really did jump off the page for me, and I could totally see this as a TV show. So I'm so excited to be able to watch
Thank
it in the
you. Yeah,
future.
me too. Me too.
So you have six main female leads, and there's so multiple timelines, multiple points of view, but it all feels really intentional and well paced. So how did you approach structuring the story with all these timelines? Was it similar to how you would when writing a script?
Lots and lots and lots of index cards that moved around constantly on a giant table. It was a bear, honestly, and I don't know if I really intended to have that many characters, but they all just kind of happened, and then I was like, oh no, and it's not just that you have to pay attention to them all, and they can't just disappear for a long time. And I would take the index cards and put them all out with color coding for the different characters, and that made it easy to see, like, wow, that character has not been here for a while, she needs to come back in. So it has a lot of organization, which it's something I'm good at, so that's good. And I hate to say it, I think writing is 80% organization, so at least for me. So the index card and the highlighters were my friend. But yeah, it's a lot of characters, and I appreciate readers sticking with it and and getting through it.
I feel like let me hold this thing because I wanted to ask first, was there like a particular timeline or character that you were drawn to first or that kind of came to you in full form first? You knew this person from start to finish?
Yeah, Birdie Milton, who's sort of the queen bee of Buckhead. She was somebody who, I don't want to say she's based on somebody, but she definitely echoes somebody I knew in Atlanta. And that made it fun to write. So everything kind of came from her. And then, building on things, it's almost like you need certain people. I'm going to need a character who brings us in and introduces us to the world. So that's Kira. I'm going to need somebody from the complete outside of that world, and that's Shay. So it's kind of all these characters just come because they represent different facets of Atlanta, and I think of every city. They're nothing. They're nothing new. I mean, the Buckhead Betties exist in Seattle and Los Angeles and Kansas City and New York. They're everywhere. So yeah, I think I've totally gone off whatever you asked me, but there you have it.
No, I don't think so at all. I think that's so interesting to hear how it all kind of came to be, and because I can imagine it was a lot of organization having to make sure that they all came back, like you said. I feel like that's a unique challenge to a murder mystery is, the clues and the pacing and the red herring and making sure that each
Yeah,
character is kind of set up to be, a possible suspect. So I guess what was the hardest part of writing that aspect of this story?
everything you just said. It's all
Yeah.
hard. It's all hard. I guess somewhere this undercurrent of making sure that you're leading somebody somewhere that they don't know they're going, right? I kind of put it like you're putting together a puzzle and you didn't even know it, So you've got all these pieces, and you've got them all, but you had no idea you're putting together a puzzle. So I think when you get to the end and hopefully you didn't know who did it, it still has to make sense that they did it. That person was guilty. It can't just come out of nowhere. So you have to then look back into it and say, oh, okay, yeah, I see all the things along the way. So that was kind of the hardest part, was making sure it made sense who did it.
I totally think it did. I feel like I don't want to give it away per
Don't give it
se
away.
right now. No, but I feel like was very clever and just really it was really cool. It made sense, like you said,
Yay.
and how everything tied together at the end. I mean, it was masterful. It was so I devoured this book, I think, in a day and a half.
Oh my
I
God,
was
you're so
so
cool. Thank you.
excited. Yeah, it kept me on literally the edge of my seat. Want to talk about some of the themes because motherhood is one that we started to kind of talk about, but it's a really strong thread throughout the whole novel, and
Yeah.
it connects these women who maybe wouldn't have been friends otherwise, and shapes a lot of their decisions. So, was it a theme that you knew you wanted to explore from the very beginning, or did it just happen along the way?
Probably a little bit of both. I think just naturally, I have a son, and so much of when I was in Atlanta was him in school and all the things he went through, and then all the people you meet through school or through baseball, which is how I like most of my best friends now are from that. So that is something that links all of us, me and all my friends. So yeah, that was part of it, and then it just kind of grew, and it had to be something that was also important as far as the detective went, because and then it gets into race a little bit because you can't talk about Atlanta without talking about race. And I think these women, what I really wanted to show was, I mean, we all are, we're just, I don't know why it is that we try to find, and you just naturally do it. You try to find the differences, like, how is that person different than me? When honest to God, we are 99.9% the same across the world. If we made lists of how we're the same and how we're different, the same list would go on and on and on and on. And I think probably one of the most powerful things that across every type of person in every country in this planet, motherhood is basically the same, you know? So that was important to me.
I thought it was just so interesting, and oh my gosh, I can't say enough how much I just loved all the things that you touched on in this, and the social satire, but then
Thanks.
also that there were very real problems that these women had, and it was just so well done. So I wanted to zoom out a little bit and ask you how you got your start in the industry as a screenwriter, and then kind of making this shift to writing a book, and if you've always known that you wanted to tell stories.
Always, since I was little. I've always been writing, and I think it's because teachers said I was good at it. So, you know, obviously, once somebody says you're good at something, you keep doing that. And I'm just not good at anything else, honestly. Math is just forget it. That was definitely something I wanted to do. And then I grew up in Studio City, California, which it literally is filled with studios. and and actors, and I went to school with kids who were on TV shows, or their parents were, or they were writers, or they were directors, their parents. So it was kind of a company town. So you grow up in a coal mining town, you know that industry, and so the same thing with the entertainment industry. So it didn't seem out of the realm of possibilities that that's something I would do. And I also went, you know, grew up in Los Angeles. You have USC and UCLA, which have the two best film schools in the country. And I went to USC and studied. It was the second year of their film writing program ever. And so I went through that. And then, like everybody else, I was unemployed after I got out of college. It's not an easy thing to do. Like, oh, I'm a screenwriter. Um, so I went to work at a talent agency called the Gersh Agency, and read scripts all day long. And that's where I really learned how to write scripts. Uh, and just one thing led to another, and I got a lucky break. And somebody wanted to, wow, this is a long story of my career. Somebody wanted
Oh
to,
no.
somebody wanted a modern day version of Cinderella, but they didn't want to pay any money. And so, hey, that's me. I'm nobody. I'll do that for you. And so I did that. And yeah, my joke is 5 years later, you know, overnight success. 5 years later, we finally made the movie. So that's how it all began. And then as far as segueing into book writing, there are two big things that happened: the pandemic and the writer's strike. And there was nothing to do. So why not write a book? And like I said, I didn't think anybody would ever buy this story from me as a screenplay off the bat, because they all want intellectual property. They want something to be based on a book. You're on a show based on a book. I thought that's, a possibility. I'll write as a book. I have nothing else to do right now. I can't work. So that's what I did. And the pandemic was very good to me. Gave me that time to do that.
How long did it take you then to write this book, knowing the big undertaking that it was?
Yeah, I'm actually a super fast writer. I can write a script in like a couple of weeks, but a book was a different thing. And I think because I didn't have any deadline, I could just, pandemic's still going on. When is this ever going to end? Oh, writer strike. I can work on this some more. So it was a couple of years for sure. And I wouldn't say that was me just every day, sitting down there, I'm going to write 9 to 5. But it was a process. And then I had to beyond that go and then try to find an agent. And then after finding the agent, we had to try to sell the book. So it was a long process that started, I think, in 2021 maybe. So
Oh wow. Oh my gosh. I think I love the process of things and the journey because it's I like you were saying about the overnight success. I feel like that's all people really get to see of it is just the
yeah.
final thing, and then it does feel like it's like, oh, it happened overnight for this person, and it it never does.
Never
Um,
does.
I think that's so cool though that they wanted another version of Cinderella, and you were like, I'm gonna write it. I mean, I think that takes so much like courage to be like, oh wait, I'm gonna do it. Did you write it and then pitch it, or did you
I pitched it and
like,
then wrote it.
yeah.
When you're working for free, they don't care too much. They're like, whatever, if it doesn't work out, we'll just go to somebody else. So yeah, I pitched it and then wrote it. And then the funny thing was when we finally took it out to the town, to the studios, every single one passed. And there were, I think, 5 other Cinderella scripts in town at the same time. So everybody got the same idea at the same time for some reason, which happens strangely all the time.
Yeah.
Um, then it wasn't until 5 years later, when Hilary Duff came on board. And then every single one of those same studios that passed, there was like a bidding war for it. So it's all the little things that help. Getting the hottest teen actress at the time helps a lot.
That's so interesting. It is, oh my gosh, I can't believe it was like all the things and it happened the way it was supposed to, I guess. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a
I think
huge
so.
movie. It's yeah, that's incredible. What or who were some of your early creative influences?
I don't know that I have any. I feel ashamed to say I wasn't a big reader. I'm still not a big fiction reader. I'm a big nonfiction reader.
Mm.
So I grew up in the TV days, and TV was everything. It was my babysitter. Came home, latchkey kid came home to watch TV. So that's where all of my kind of, you know, I don't know, inspiration came from, I guess. And even saying that, it wasn't even one thing. It was just so many things. I loved so much and so many different styles and everything. I just loved entertainment, period. I like the structure of it. I like comedies, I like dramas. So, but as far as, books go, mean, my favorite all-time book is called Ship of Gold in a Deep Blue Sea, and it's the true story of trying to find this treasure off the coast of North Carolina, actually, which they did, and it's so cool. But so, um, yeah, not Jane Austen or anything. Nothing against Jane Austen. Pride and Prejudice is one of my favorite movies. Um, but I can tell you all day long, great TV shows and movies. Books, not as much, sadly.
No, I totally understand that. I feel like I feel the same way, but I'm almost flipped. Is that as an actor, I feel like everyone's like, "Oh, you must like watch all these movies and TV shows," and I don't
No.
have a TV. I don't own a
Ah,
TV. I love going to the movies and
we need to end
seeing.
this interview right
I
now.
know, I know.
What are you
I
talking about? Oh my
I
God.
I do watch shows on my iPad here, but I feel like I
Okay.
tried. I don't know. I love keeping the theaters alive. I go to the movies all the time,
Me
and
too. Thank you for doing that. Thank you.
yeah, no, thank you. So I always go, and they do reruns of classics. I'm a member at the American Cinematheque, and so I go
Oh,
to all
cool.
the reruns of the things. And so I've seen some of the classics, but a lot of times people are like, "Oh, have you seen this?" or "Have you seen this?" And I'm like, "No,"
Oh, there's
and
so
I feel
many. There's so
ashamed.
many. No, I know,
There
I feel ashamed.
are.
I haven't seen Casablanca before until last year.
Oh my
I
gosh,
don't know
yeah,
if you've seen that one yet. It's like,
I
oh,
have.
and then it was like, oh, that's why everyone talks about it. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, this is incredible.
Yeah, but it was only like 2 years ago that I watched it. So it's so like, I totally understand that feeling though. And I feel like I am the opposite where then people are like, oh, have you seen this show? I'm like, I've read the book. So we can kind of talk about it if it's similar, depending on how many changes they made.
A lot,
Um,
probably.
yeah. So then I'm like, oh, well, anyway. Um, but back to Bless Your Heart, I wanted to kind of round it out with, this book juggles so many things, the mystery, the satire, family, personal reckoning in a lot of ways. So looking back, is there a core idea or a question kind of at the heart of it all that, you kind of want people to take away?
Hmm. No, not really. I guess coming from the movie side of things, I just want people to be entertained. I want somebody to spend their time reading it and feel like it was valuable time. Like they laughed, they cried, the whole thing that somehow it moved them or it got them thinking, or they just had a friggin' good time. So I'll feel like I did what I wanted to do, if somebody enjoys it.
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed it. So,
Yay.
and I'm sure a ton of other people have as well. I'm so excited to hear the conversation this month with everybody as they pick it up too, or if they have already, getting to kind of be like, wait, you're gonna love this part. But do you have any plans to write another book, or it's back to the screen for you?
Maybe both. So yeah, I've got my note cards out, putting together another book, and then I'm also, kind of figuring out about adapting this, as a TV
Mhm.
show. So it's the dual things. And there are a lot of different books I want to write too, different kinds of books, but now I'm sort of wondering, like, well, you've written a mystery now, a murder mystery. Maybe that's all you get to do. So, I don't know. We'll have to see. I have to reinvent myself again.
Oh man, I think you have incredible range. I mean, from like a Cinderella story to this, I mean, and then what you talked about growing up watching so many different types of shows and movies. I mean, I feel like you have incredible range, and I would read or watch anything that you write.
You're so nice. Thank you. I
Oh,
appreciate it.
of course, of course. But that's so exciting to hear that you're writing another book, and I will be on the lookout for that too. TV news and another book. That's incredible. Where can readers keep up with you? Online, or do you have any in-person events coming up that we can shout out?
I don't have anything right now, especially since I'm, in London. The book's not even out here. So, uh, but online, I'm leighdunlapwrites.com, and then on Instagram, Dunlap Writes. So, yeah, if you want to see my silly posts, you can you can check me out there.
Amazing. Well, thank you so, so much. I really appreciate you joining me today and answering so many
Thank
questions,
you.
and this has been so fun.
I really appreciate it. Like I said, I was thrilled when I found out that you picked the book, and I hope, I know people look to you for advice, so I hope they aren't let down by my book. I hope they love
No, oh my
it.
gosh. No, I'm so excited. I was so happy. I was so happy to read this book, and growing up in North Carolina and then living in Atlanta on and off the last couple of years. I mean, it was really fun. I was so excited to read it, and I just feel like it exceeded any kind of expectations I might have had. It was so
Thank
fun,
you.
and I truly loved it so much, and I know that everybody else will too. And again, I can't wait for the conversation. I think it's going to be I think people are going to be excited to talk about it in that moment of like, oh my gosh, what? Like, I can't wait to see that from everyone. I know it's coming. But yeah,
Yay.
no, thank you.
Great. Thanks so much.